Several supports are popping up that are suggesting a potential touch of a particular area. So let's go ahead and go over that touch now, because it very well could be a floor, right? What is up, you guys? Thank you so much for stopping by. Once again, this is ARCa coming at you with a GTII technicals, raw price action, and statistical thread of analysis on this happy Monday. Before we get started, please make sure to subscribe to the channel, like the video, and share the video with a friend so that you and them could consider joining our trading community and Discord called ARCa Bulls. With that said, let's dive right into the charts. Okay, you guys, so yes, we are looking at a potential support bottom here for GTII, and I'm going to go ahead and express it to you like this, right? So right off the bat, it's a range though, okay? So this is definitely not the one target that I'm looking at, right? So via this very short-term time frame, broadening descending wedge, we actually got that breakout, but we never came back to validate that newly converted resistance, which is this top trend line, into a support. Before a continuation, right? So if we were to face that in the next hourly iteration, or, it could be within an hour or two, there is a potential of touching back down to the area of about $1.60 per the formation's newly converted support, right? So let's go ahead and continue that short-term downside thesis, right? So particular to yesterday's analysis, guys, I was explaining to you yesterday's, or whenever I came up with the GTII video, which I believe was on Friday, I believe. So I do have, I did mention how the natural ebb and flow would actually work, right? So we would get that upside, and here's my drawing, right? And then we would actually retrace, and here's the retracement, and then we would come back up, and we're starting to get that upside again, right? So same thing here, right? So we were somewhere over here. I said that very likely we can continue on to the upside. Then you see this downside starting to happen, that we would get this downside here and then continue on to the upside. So, and here as well, we're starting to get that upside that we were talking about. Just like here, we're starting to show the weakness of the bears, and we're starting that trend to go to the upside again, just to show you how time is being perceived from my eyes, right? So if you are curious, just look at the prior GTII video where I really explain it in depth. And, if you are curious over how I perceive time in the trade. Okay, so now coming back to this to this chart here, which is the 5-day GTII chart. This is actually showing us a bottom side support of about $1.50, right? So I'm not sure that we can actually come back to that $1.50, but I would actually have to favor more along the lines of the closing of this candle here. So you can actually see it in the C area, right? So where it says C up there, when I hover over the candle, you see that it says 158, which just so happens to be very close to that 160 that we were talking about from the broadening descending wedge on the hourly chart, right? So that's another reason why I believe that can be our next support touch. Okay, so let's go ahead and move on and continue validating that. Now, regarding this support area here, okay, so this is the 156 very dreadful zone that we've actually been talking about, right? That we can use as a temporary support touch if it is that we don't use this downside here, from the overall chop zone, right? So very likely we can find a test actually from, I don't know if we can reach all the way to 156, but it's there, right? So now we're getting that 156 to 160 tier of a support range. Okay, let's continue our validation here. Okay, you guys, so I actually don't have anything to say regarding this chart, right? Let me just make sure. No, I don't. So let's go ahead and continue on the analysis here. And I would like to point out to you that it would be ideal for us to face the test of that 156 to 160 and get a bounce tomorrow. It would be incredibly ideal for us to do that, and I'll tell you why. In 17 hours and 9 minutes, the 3-day candle that we currently are on will close, and that will very likely affect in a positive or negative manner our momentum, right? So we've been talking about this drawing here. The orange line, is my drawing, and so is this blue line right over here, right? This was just the path objective that I was suggesting that we would move on from this point all the way back here days and days and days ago, right? So we are still within the path that I kind of drew here, but now that closure is getting very close to us. So if we don't find a bounce from that area of 156 to 160, then very likely we can actually continue on to a further downside, right? But I would like for you to actually just know that the bulls are kind of still in control here. And in fact, I'm not favoring the bears whatsoever. And I would be very honest with you if I were. Okay, so now let's go ahead and move on to the next chart. And please notice here that we still have the upside pivot from the 14-day simple moving average, and we are consolidating a little bit within the 3-day exponential. And this is essentially the chart that would lead us to an upside, which is all the way up to an upside thrust of about 100%, right? Which let's see, 150. Yeah, well, I mean, the standard deviation came out to be 89.56% with a lower end of 10.98 and a higher end of 190. Okay, but if we were to kind of look at the 100-day, I'm sorry, the 100% upside thrust, then that would actually lead us to about $2.67. Now, let's just go ahead and look at the last part of the analysis so we can just get this over with. Okay, you guys, particular to the 8-hour chart, we do have a downside. I'm sorry, this would be one more thing to kind of look at here. We do have $1.55 as a bottom here that also rhymes with the 156 and 160 from this is the 8-hour Gaussian channel. Okay, now let's look at the last part of the analysis. Okay, so we have an immediate short-term downtrend here on the 30-minute. We also have a downside here from the 4-hour crossing below the 14-day simple. Same situation on the 8-hour, and here is where it's the conditional downside. Okay, we have a support from the 14-day simple moving average right at 44.81%, which would essentially suggest and give validity to the 156 to 160 area of support. Please remember, I'm not a financial advisor. Take whatever I do show and iterate within these videos as just a form of entertainment, as I cannot suggest for you to buy or sell any assets whatsoever. Okay, you guys, I need you to do your own due diligence and everything will be just fine. But with that said, I wish you well, a very good night, and I will catch you at the bell mañana. Adios.